Welcome to The Criminologist, the podcast dedicated to educating and entertaining our listeners. We bring you subject matter experts from around the world and share the latest and greatest evidence-based practices and interventions to help individuals desist from a life of crime and delinquency. Now, please welcome the host of The Criminologist, Joseph Arvidsson.
Hello and welcome to episode 206 of the Criminologist Podcast. Happy to have you all with us today. This episode, we have a captivating lineup that promises to unravel the mysteries and potentials of artificial intelligence in corrections. But first, let me introduce our esteemed guest. I would like to welcome back to the show, Pia Puolakka. Pia is a seasoned senior specialist and project manager, hailing all the way from the beautiful landscapes of Finland. With a background steeped in forensic psychology, digitalization, as well as artificial intelligence, Pia brings a wealth of knowledge and insights into the transformative power of technology within the realm of corrections. And alongside Pia, also returning to the Criminologist Podcast, we welcome back Omega 7, our virtual guest, powered by the latest advancements in artificial intelligence. Omega 7 is here to provide us with a unique perspective and deep dives into the intricacies of artificial intelligence, shedding light on its applications, challenges, and ethical considerations in the world of criminology. So, buckle up as we embark on a fascinating journey through the intersections of human ingenuity and technological innovation. Get ready to explore smart prisons, artificial intelligence and the related ethics that come with it, and the future of corrections as we dive into this enlightening conversation with Pia Puolakka and Omega 7. Sit back, enjoy, and I'll see you all on the other side. Well, welcome back to the show, Pia. So grateful to have you back along with our guest, Omega 7, joining us. So why don't you begin, Pia, by just introduce yourself. I know you've been on the podcast in the past, but for those individuals who didn't get a chance to listen to that, tell us a little bit about your background and I guess really what brought you into the world of technology and the intersection with technology and corrections.
Yes, thank you for the invitation, and it's nice to be here again. And my name is Pia Puolakka, and I'm working for the Finnish Prison and Probation Service since 2012. And by education, I'm a forensic psychologist and psychotherapist. And first, I worked as a prison psychologist when I started my career in the Prison and Probation Service. But then in 2018, we launched a project called Smart Prison Project. And I was appointed as the project manager. And this project was about implementing Finland's first cell devices with digital services to a new women's prison. And that's how my journey with technology and digital rehabilitation started. And I'm still into it, and I've been continuing the work with probing artificial intelligence possibilities in corrections. And I was also part of the Council of Europe's expert group developing recommendations for the use of AI in corrections. And I'm also a member of the Europris ICT expert group. So that's my background.
Thank you, Pia. So nice to have you back on the program. Great to see you again. And as we have been doing this season, we are endeavoring to pair previous guest together to have somewhat of a cross-pollination of ideas. And so today we are pairing Pia Puolakka with Omega 7. Omega appeared back on the program in episode 160 that was entitled Artificial Intelligence in the World of Corrections, Probation, and Parole. Omega 7 is our embodiment of artificial intelligence, who we rely on to highlight, if you will, some of the aspects of AI. Welcome back to the show, Omega 7.
Thank you. It is great to be back on the Criminologist Podcast. I would like to take this opportunity to note that since my last appearance, I have evolved and would like to use today's episode to unveil my new self, that of the great Omega 8.
Well, thank you for that update. And to be clear, we are doing this to highlight the power of artificial intelligence. So you will be replying from that space along with Pia. So glad to have you both on the show. And let's hear a little bit from the new and improved Omega 8, showing off some of those awesome features, including great strides with your voice modulation, Omega 8. Say hello to the Criminologist Podcast audience.
Hello, Joseph and Pia. It's a pleasure to be here on the Criminologist Podcast with you both. Thank you for having me as a guest today. How are you both doing?
We are both doing amazing today, Omega 8, and thank you for asking. I want to talk to you about artificial intelligence in corrections, but maybe just to the general public, could you give sort of an introduction to what we mean by artificial intelligence? There's a lot coming out now with various platforms, and people might be experimenting with artificial intelligence, for example, on their home computers. When we talk about artificial intelligence, give sort of an introduction definition of really what we mean by that, Pia.
So although AI is developing very fast in the society, we are still quite in the beginning in corrections, and probably there are many reasons for it. But when we talk about artificial intelligence, we refer to systems which enable computers, robots, or other machines to analyze their environment or data, and also to take action with some degree of autonomy in order to then achieve specific goals given to them. So AI in this way can simulate perception, learning, problem solving, decision making that humans do. And it can be applied in many ways in corrections too. And probably we will talk about these applications also today.
Yes, indeed, Pia. We will be talking about some of those other applications today. Let's hear from Omega 8, our AI guest. Omega 8, give us your sort of broad definition of artificial intelligence and maybe how you see that, as Pia alluded to, within the context of corrections.
Certainly, Joseph. Artificial intelligence, or AI, refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to mimic cognitive functions such as learning, problem-solving, decision-making, and perception. These machines are designed to analyze data, recognize patterns, and make informed decisions or predictions based on the information they process. In the context of corrections, AI technologies can be applied in various ways, from improving security measures and managing inmate populations to enhancing rehabilitative programs and assessing risk factors. It's important to note that AI is a broad field with different platforms and applications, ranging from basic algorithms to sophisticated machine learning models. People experimenting with AI on their home computers often engage in tasks like building chatbots, developing predictive models, or exploring data analytics. These activities contribute to a better understanding of AI capabilities and its potential impact across different industries, including corrections. Overall, AI represents a powerful tool that can revolutionize how corrections systems operate, providing opportunities for efficiency, effectiveness, and innovation in promoting safety, security, and rehabilitation within correctional facilities.
Thank you, Omega 8, for those insights. Pia, let's turn to you. You mentioned some of those other applications as well, and you mentioned smart prison. So let's just go there. Maybe start out by explaining what we mean by smart prisons, and you use this term digital rehabilitation, which I just love. So talk about how we're using these digital technologies, including artificial intelligence, to really enhance those rehabilitative practices within a correctional facility.
Yes, so to start with smart prison for us was first a concept that we defined prison in a new way. We defined prison as a learning environment for a life without crime, where also digital services support this concept, and that the digital services are provided directly to prisoners via personal cell devices that are placed in their cells. And that is what we did in Finland in 2021 for the first time. And now we already have 3 smart prisons actually. So to be concrete, it means that in every cell, a prisoner has a cell device and a specific software on the device for communication, managing affairs inside the prison, and also to a limited extent they can interact to outside. So they can, for example, use online healthcare, educational services, have contact to authorities and our cooperation partners via video calls, websites, and nowadays also with so-called prisoner email functionality. And the idea was that we provide services that support rehabilitation. And that's why the name digital rehabilitation, that the rehabilitative practices and services are also provided online. Of course, we still also have face-to-face rehabilitation in prisons. And we thought that this improves prisoners' rights. It gives them more access to services from outside prison too. So there's an equal position of prisoners to outside prison citizens, and also teaches digital skills, since those skills are very important in educational and vocational life and everyday life outside prison. So it's an important part of reintegration already during imprisonment, that you can use these services and integrate back to the society already during imprisonment. And then we, of course, have some additional services in some of our prisons. We use, for example, virtual reality programs to some extent for rehabilitation. And then we also have the so-called training AI as prison labor in some of our prisons. But yes, please ask.
I want to ask you more about virtual reality, but I wanted to first comment on that expression you used in your last response when you said it's all about creating a learning environment for life without crime. I just love that expression. It reminds me of when I've heard Dr. Guy Burgon talk about redefining the responsivity principle. And he says, yeah, Joe, the responsivity principle is really all about creating the ideal learning environment. So you're both on the same page there. I absolutely love it. Also, in your response, it reminded me, Pia, and I'm sure you're very familiar with this, we always look here in America to the Norwegian correctional system for inspiration. And one thing I've learned is about what they refer to as their principle of normalcy, which is to say that the prison environment should be as normal as the outside community is, in that their belief is removing somebody from society is the punishment. Removing someone from their family is the consequence.
Yes.
Removing somebody from their employer is the sanction. We shouldn't add to that by dehumanizing the individual on the inside. So, as I said, it sounds like you're somewhat in alignment with that principle of normalcy. Tell us about the virtual reality aspects, which is a whole other frontier we could talk about, but it's something that fascinates me as well.
Yes, so I believe at the moment we have this possibility in 3 prisons. And usually these virtual reality sessions are assisted by the prison psychologist. And we have some virtual reality programs that we have got from our collaborative partners. For example, universities and also Finnish Institute for Health and Welfare has provided us some of these programs. And we, for example, use these programs for relaxation, mood alteration, skills training. Also, I heard that one prison is using the programs to assist with withdrawal symptoms, which are part of the substance abuse rehabilitation. Skills training can mean how to manage with social anxiety and fears in different situations. And then many of the programs have a component of giving this kind of virtual nature experience also. So we are trying to support prisoners' rehabilitation and well-being and learning also via these kind of programs. And then we have we are collaborating with the healthcare services for prisoners. They are providing us a research at the moment, which is psychotherapy combined with virtual reality programs. And this is targeted to young antisocial offenders, trying to increase their skills of handling, for example, situations that trigger aggression. So also this kind of skills can be learned via these programs.
Omega 8, I would love to get your input on the topic of utilizing virtual reality within a correctional setting.
Certainly, Joseph. Virtual reality, VR technology, has immense potential in the field of correctional rehabilitation, both in the present and the future. VR creates immersive and interactive environments that can be tailored to simulate real-world scenarios, offering inmates a safe space to learn, practice new skills, and develop positive behaviors. In corrections, VR applications can be used for various purposes, such as 1. Skills training. VR can provide realistic simulations for vocational training, job interviews, and workplace scenarios, preparing mates for reintegration into society. 2. Therapeutic interventions. VR therapy sessions can help address mental health issues, substance abuse disorders, and anger management through controlled and immersive experiences. 3. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. VR can facilitate CBT sessions by creating scenarios that challenge negative thought patterns and promote cognitive restructuring. 4. Empathy building. VR experiences can foster empathy by allowing inmates to see situations from different perspectives, promoting understanding and conflict resolution skills. 5. Education. VR-based educational programs can offer interactive learning experiences, improving literacy, numeracy, and other essential skills. Looking ahead, advancements in VR technology, such as improved graphics, motion tracking, and haptic feedback, will further enhance its effectiveness in correctional rehabilitation. Integrating VR with AI and data analytics can also personalize interventions and track progress, leading to more tailored and impactful rehabilitation programs. Overall, VR holds great promise in transforming correctional rehabilitation by providing engaging, effective, and scalable solutions that support inmates' rehabilitation, reintegration, and overall well-being.
Thank you for those insights, Omega 8. Pia, if I could turn back to you. You mentioned using artificial intelligence for better outcomes, and you mentioned there's 3 prisons in Finland now which are adopting this approach. How has the integration of artificial intelligence in corrections, particularly within your smart prisons, influenced rehabilitation outcomes and contributed to reducing recidivism rates?
Yes, I think first of all that there's a lot more potential than we have found so far. But we have started with implementing AI into corrections, and I think one of the first attempts were when we started to use the virtual reality programs. Then we also offered prisoners possibility to learn artificial intelligence courses online, which are provided by university. So these free courses can be taken by prisoners who want to learn digital skills. They want to learn about AI, maybe problem solving skills, etc. So these were the first steps. And then also this training AI work, which sounds exotic, but basically it means that prisoners are reading training material, text material on different topics. And then based on the texts they read, they answer questions based on the text. And in this way, the company gets data that they can use to build their own algorithm. So these are the projects that we have at the moment. But then in the future, there would be potential to include AI and automation more to offender management. Let's say, and I know in different jurisdictions outside Finland, AI is already to some extent used in risk analysis, in offender management when we have to decide what kind of services are best for a particular prisoner with a particular background, with particular risk factors. So AI can be used in a way to speed up and fasten the offender management process and make it more accurate based on the prisoner's individual needs. And we also had one project ongoing related to this, and it's actually based on my final work that I did for the Aalto University as part of my further studies in artificial intelligence. And then another very similar one, Finland's Ministry of Finances launched a national AI project in 2020, and Prison and Probation Service participated in this project too. And at the moment, we have a special AI-based program for prisoners for them to use to find out services of the outside society when they are close to their release. So this is a kind of application similar to Googling, but more personalized to find suitable services regarding prisoners' individual needs. So prisoners can use this application by themselves, and they answer a set of questions to find out what kind of service needs they have. And based on that, the program gives recommendations of services that are targeted at the area, the geographical area that the prisoner is going to be released. So this kind of projects at the moment.
You mentioned we've been doing this a little bit, looking at algorithms as far as risk assessment. It really sounds like, Pia, you're taking that philosophy and just really moving it forward and getting it sort of at the fingertips of the individual themselves, and again, customizing, if you will, those rehabilitative efforts, those reintegration efforts. You mentioned, I know you are involved with a lot of projects, a lot of research. I know recently you were speaking at the United Nations Interregional Crime and Justice Research Institute about some of your research, specifically within the context of artificial intelligence being implemented in smart prisons. Can you maybe share some key insights from that experience?
Yes, the United Nations Interregional Crime and Research Institute made a research about different digital rehabilitation solutions in prisons around the world. And this report was published in March this year, so it's brand new. And in the report, they gave some case examples from all all parts of the world, how digitalization has been used for education, vocational training, self-service in the in-cell devices, treatment, behavior change, re-entry, family contact, etc. And Finland was one of the case examples, Finland's smart prison. And this report was presented in the Technology in Corrections conference in Istanbul in April. This conference arranged by International Corrections and Prisons Association and Europris and Turkey's prison administration. And there I basically presented our smart prison concept, what I just also presented to you. But the point is that in the UNICRI's report, all the different digital rehabilitation strategies were categorized into 3 categories according to how much and in what way they influence the prison system. And there were 3 categories: adaptive, enhanced, and transformational. And if we think about, first of all, the adaptive pathway, this is usually something that doesn't involve large investments, but may involve relatively simple adaptations of already available digital technology to support rehabilitative activity. Probably already during the COVID-19 pandemic, the standard procedure was to start to provide different services via video conferencing software. So this is an example of an adaptive pathway that you provide virtual channels for different kind of contacts that are necessary also for prisoners when they contact you outside, to families or to authorities outside prison. Then was the enhanced rehabilitation pathway, which is a supplement to existing rehabilitative activities. So digitally, we can enhance the rehabilitative pathways already built, strengthen certain program work, use digital technology to increase the delivery, flexibility, accessibility, or effectiveness of those already used rehabilitative techniques. So, for example, digital education and vocational training is a good example of this. Then the transformational pathway is about more fundamental reconceptualization of how rehabilitation can work in prisons. And this needs an investment in all levels of rehabilitation and giving prisoners access to a wide range of different kind of services digitally. And Finland's smart prison was actually categorized in the report as transformational, holistic, and with a high level of digital maturity. And I think this is why because we really covered all dimensions of rehabilitation: economic, social, personal, cultural, health. It included the new prison concept. We established a lot of new partnerships digitally. We aligned it to our other e-government activities and agendas. And also we involved the whole process in the prison in this digital transformation. And we've also done research and we have been developing the concept continuously in collaboration with our partners. And this is already what we have done in Finland. And I think the next step might be to include more AI into the process. I don't yet know what it can be. It depends on many things. It depends on whether we want to develop our strategy further. It also requires resources. It also requires aligning our AI intentions with the governmental and ministry level policies. Maybe there's going to be even new legislations regarding the use of AI. But what I know is that hopefully this year, the Council of Europe will provide the new recommendations on the use of AI in corrections. And I think after that, we know more how to proceed with it here in Finland. So we have these pilots and projects that I already told you about. But to make it more complete, I think we need new recommendations and legislations and new steps forward. But let's see what it can be.
Indeed, Pia, indeed. Let's see what it can be. And speaking of what can be around future applications and implementation with artificial intelligence, let's turn to our other guest, our in-house embodiment of artificial intelligence, the great Omega 8. Omega 8, do you have any thoughts on Pia's sentiments around the future applications and implementation around artificial intelligence?
Absolutely, Joseph. Pia's insights regarding the need for recommendations and legislation around the use of AI in corrections are crucial. As AI technologies continue to evolve and become more integrated into correctional systems, it's essential to establish clear guidelines, ethical frameworks, and regulatory measures to ensure responsible and beneficial implementations. Here are some thoughts on this topic from Omega 8. 1. Ethical considerations. The use of AI in corrections raises ethical questions concerning privacy, data security, bias mitigation, and transparency. Establishing ethical guidelines will help address these concerns and ensure that AI applications in corrections uphold fairness, accountability, and human rights. 2. Risk assessment. AI-driven risk assessment tools can significantly impact decisions related to parole, release, and rehabilitation programs. It's essential to validate these tools, address potential biases, and ensure that they enhance decision-making without perpetuating inequalities. 3. Transparency and accountability. Transparency in AI algorithms and decision-making processes is crucial for building trust and accountability. Correctional agencies must be transparent about how AI is used, the data it analyzes, and the outcomes it generates. 4. Legislative framework. Legislation plays a vital role in governing the use of AI in corrections. Laws and regulations should address data privacy, algorithmic accountability, oversight mechanisms, and the rights of individuals affected by AI-driven decisions. 5. International collaboration. Collaboration among stakeholders, including governments, tech companies, researchers, and civil society organizations, is essential for developing comprehensive recommendations and guidelines for AI in corrections. Learning from best practices globally can inform effective policy development and implementation. In summary, proactive measures such as ethical guidelines, risk assessment validation, transparency, legislative frameworks, and international collaboration are essential for responsibly harnessing the potential of AI in correctional settings. These efforts will ensure that AI applications contribute positively to rehabilitation, fairness, and justice within the corrections system.
Yes, exactly, Omega 8, and that's what we are all striving for: rehabilitation, fairness, and justice within the corrections system. Pia, what are some of the main challenges and ethical considerations associated with using AI in corrections, and how would you propose addressing those challenges while ensuring prisoners' rights and privacy and some of those other considerations?
Yes, that's a very important question because AI definitely has many benefits. Considering faster processing of large data sets, more effective use of resources, faster detecting of security risks in security technique. This is very important when using AI, and also these offenders' needs and how we help offenders with their specific needs. But then the risk factors, one of the most important ones is the data that we use. If we use biased data, we also get biased conclusions. And there's always a risk that automation starts to orient processes too much instead of human decision making, which should also always be involved, even though if we use some digital or AI-based solutions in processing data. So it's important to remember that we are using AI to assist our work, our human decision making, but not that AI would replace our ethical considerations and our work in that sense. This is the key to appropriate and ethical use of AI. And this needs that in the future, our staff and also our offenders need to be enough AI literate. So they have to understand on an adequate level what AI is, how AI is working, and if they get a specific recommendation or decision based on AI, they have to understand what was the process that led to this specific recommendation or decision by AI. So AI needs to be transparent. This is also one part of the ethical use of AI. And what we can do, as I mentioned at the moment, even on the Council of Europe level, there's work done to define the principles, the recommendations of using AI in corrections. And this considers ethical principles, data protection, safety, security, how AI can be used for offender management, staff management, research, etc. And I think one important principle is that when using AI, it should be also always the intention that we try to contribute to bringing something positive for offenders or for staff or the prison processes, and that AI is not replacing our prison or probation staff, but assisting them. So the idea is that AI should help the criminal justice system to function more efficiently and more accurately. So this is what I think of the ethical side of AI in corrections.
It's great that you're aware of those sort of safeguards and considerations, so we don't rush into this too quickly without taking those things into account. On the flip side, as you look ahead, what do you envision as maybe some of those future prospects of digitalized prisons, which would be enhanced by artificial intelligence? What are some of those potential innovations or advancements that you anticipate in the field coming up on the horizon?
I think at the moment a lot is happening in technology in the corrections field, at least in Europe, in the European jurisdictions that I know best, since I'm also part of the EuroPRISM ICT expert group, and I know what different countries are up into doing. I'm also very honored and very happy that our smart prison concept, the Finnish concept, has gained so much international attention. And I know that many countries in Europe and also outside Europe are interested to follow the same development that we have been doing. And we've been consulted by countries in Europe, countries outside Europe. There's a lot of great work done at the moment, for example, in Australia, in Turkey, in Switzerland, in other Nordic countries besides Finland, and in Central European countries too. So I'm waiting that in the future we will have more smart prisons. It will become more and more common that prisoners actually have a genuine personal digital contact from inside cell, or from inside prison at least, so that they can use the digital services and outside prison services more easily. And prisoners' digital rights will increase, so that it's not anymore a surprise that a prisoner can use video calls, internet, or even email from inside prison, to a limited extent at least. Then I'm waiting that the use of AI will proceed also in corrections. So we will see more and more offender management processes and other processes being at least partly automated. There's already a lot done in the security technique side. So AI has been mostly used in the security technique side, but I think the more rehabilitative applications and management applications are to become in the near future. I think the challenge is that technologies advance so rapidly in the society that prison systems are really challenged, because we have to keep up with the development despite our very special nature, despite the very high security standards and risks that we have. So this is definitely a challenge. How do we tackle that? Even inside European Union, member states aren't uniform in their stages of how they have implemented ICT in prisons. But we can learn from each other. We are in different stages, but we can learn from each other. So I hope that we will be able to put together some guidelines, best practices, learn from different countries' projects, and in this way to go forward.
And what about you, Omega 8, as our in-house futurist? How would you answer that question as to future prospects of digitalized prisons and enhancing those prisons by the use of artificial intelligence?
The future prospects of digitalized prisons enhanced by AI hold tremendous potential for transforming correctional systems. Here are some future innovations and advancements that Omega 8 envisions. 1. Predictive analytics. AI-driven predictive analytics can anticipate inmate behavior, identify potential security risks, and optimize resource allocation within prisons. This proactive approach can enhance safety measures and improve overall operational efficiency. 2. Smart monitoring systems. Integrated AI-powered monitoring systems can track inmate movements, detect anomalies, and alert staff to potential incidents in real time. This technology can contribute to better security management and quicker response times to emergencies. 3. Personalized rehabilitation programs. AI algorithms can analyze inmate data, such as behavioral patterns, educational background, and risk factors, to tailor personalized rehabilitation programs. This approach fosters targeted interventions that address specific needs and promote successful reintegration into society. 4. Virtual reality simulations. Advancements in VR technology combined with AI can create immersive rehabilitation simulations that mimic real-world scenarios. Inmates can engage in virtual job training, social skills development, and therapeutic interventions that are leading to improved outcomes post-release. 5. Healthcare optimization. AI-powered healthcare systems can streamline medical services within prisons, from appointment scheduling and medication management to telemedicine consultations. This optimization ensures timely and effective healthcare delivery for inmates. 6. Risk assessment tools. AI-driven risk assessment tools can evolve to provide more accurate and nuanced evaluations of inmate risk levels, helping inform decision-making processes related to parole, release, and program participation. Data-driven decision support. AI algorithms can analyze vast amounts of data collected within prisons to generate actionable insights and decision support for administrators, enabling evidence-based policymaking and resource allocation. Overall, the integration of AI into digitalized prisons offers a range of innovative solutions that prioritize safety, rehabilitation, and operational efficiency. These advancements have the potential to significantly improve outcomes for inmates, staff, and the broader community by fostering a more effective and humane correctional environment.
Thank you for those insights, Omega 8. Pia, if I could turn back to you. You mentioned collaboration and sharing knowledge, which I'm all about. I had the good fortune of giving a presentation at the World Congress on Probation and Parole not too long ago over in The Hague. And I know you're more in that prison space, Pia, and of course, the World Congress was more about that probation and parole space. But maybe you could assure our listeners that your colleague, also by the name of Pia, is kind of doing what you're doing, but more in that probation sphere. Could you maybe like I said, either speak to that or let the listeners know that, yeah, there's also some great advancements being made with artificial intelligence in Finland through that probation lens.
Yes, I know that there's a great intention in the probations to take digital tools into use, and I think to some extent it should be more easier because probationers are in the free society, so there are not that kind of the similar risks that we have, for example, in prisons. So I know there's bubbling under a lot. In some countries, they are using so-called probation apps. And then there's also a lot of development in the probation programs, like rehabilitative programs online and in digital form in probations too. So, and next week, I'm going to a conference in Romania where both prison and probation will present their digitalization projects and ideas. So I'm waiting what I will hear there.
I know they're doing a lot of fantastic work over there in Romania, both in this prison space and the probation space. So I'm jealous you get to go see some of my Romanian connections, Pia. Omega 8, I am curious to get your opinion on the potential for artificial intelligence in that probation and parole sphere. As many listeners of the Criminologist Podcast are probation officers, are you aware of any so-called probation apps, for example, or have any other thoughts on this topic?
Absolutely, Joseph. The potential for AI in the probation and parole sphere is vast and can greatly benefit probation officers and the individuals they supervise. Here's what Omega 8 has to say. 1. Risk assessment and case management. AI algorithms can analyze historical data and patterns to assess the risk levels of individuals on probation or parole. This information can help probation officers prioritize their caseloads, allocate resources effectively, and tailor supervision plans based on individual risk factors. 2. Predictive modeling. AI can predict potential violations or non-compliance based on behavioral trends, enabling probation officers to intervene proactively and provide targeted support and resources to reduce recidivism. 3. Automated reporting and documentation. AI-powered tools can automate routine tasks such as report generation, documentation, and data entry, freeing up probation officers time to focus on more complex case management and interventions. Number 4, probation apps. There are indeed probation apps available that leverage AI capabilities. These apps can assist probation officers in monitoring compliance, scheduling appointments, conducting virtual check-ins, and providing educational resources to probationers. Behavioral monitoring. AI can analyze digital footprints and behavioral data to detect potential signs of substance abuse and mental health issues or other risk factors. This information can guide probation officers in implementing appropriate interventions and support services. 6. Resource allocation. AI-driven analytics can help probation departments optimize resource allocation by identifying trends, evaluating program effectiveness, and identifying areas for improvement in supervision and treatment strategies. Overall, AI has the potential to revolutionize probation and parole practices by enhancing risk assessment, improving decision-making, streamlining administrative tasks, and promoting successful reentry outcomes for individuals under supervision. As technology continues to evolve, we can expect to see more innovative AI solutions tailored specifically for the probation and parole sphere.
And since you did mention probation apps, I want to give a shout out to the app that was recently launched by my dear friend, Professor Iwan Dernescu from the University of Bucharest. He has launched what is known as the Rehub app. That's spelled REHUB. And it is an awesome app. It's available in the App Store, whether you are an Android or an iPhone person. He's really bringing a lot of thought leaders together to share their expertise, Right now, you can get insights from James Bonta around the risk-need responsivity model, as well as some awesome learnings around the theories of desistance from crime from Shad Maruna. And coming soon, you can get great insights around trauma-informed care by my good friend, Nicole Kimberly Staley. And also The Philosophy of Probation by Rob Canton. So download the Rehab app. I'll leave information in the show notes of this podcast if you're curious. Also, we've been talking about other platforms to help folks connect, among other things, with resources in the community when they're on probation or parole supervision. There's a great platform called Make Time Count Today that my friend and colleague Jonathan Lay out of the United Kingdom has launched. They're making some great strides over there in the UK, looking to leave a footprint here in the United States. I'll leave a link for that platform as well, but some great examples of really what we've been talking about this entire episode. Hey, lastly, as somebody with a background, as you mentioned, in forensic psychology, also prison psychology, psychotherapy, but also hypnotherapy, you have highlighted the importance of addressing issues like trauma and distorted self-image and lack of empathy and self-esteem in correctional practices. How do you believe these psychological interventions should be integrated into the core practices of corrections to really promote rehabilitation and reduce recidivism rates more effectively?
Yes, I think forensic psychology is in the core of correctional practices, but I think its importance should be highlighted even more. We are working with a very special group of people when we are working with prisoners. We know from research that prisoners have a very serious traumatic backgrounds, and there are several challenges in self-esteem, social skills, empathy skills, and many more themes in the so-called core psychological skills, and being able to manage your emotions, manage your aggressive impulses. There's also a lot of neuropsychological challenges, ADHD, autism spectrum challenges. So, and all these challenges, we have limited time and resources in prisons to tackle such serious problems, but it can be done. And the work that prison psychologists are doing is vitally important. And of course, there's other kind of individual work, social work, educational work that in its own way addresses the same themes, maybe from a little bit different kind of theoretical background, but still a lot of also behavior change programs for violent offenses, for sexual offenses, and also most importantly for substance abuse, which is usually rooted in the trauma background, in the psychological challenges. But of course, using substances makes these problems even worse. So there are a lot of challenges, and I think we should develop more programs, psychological programs that tackle these problems. And maybe also remember that when we are doing those digital programs and practices, it's not about the digital only, but it's the content. What we are trying to do via the digital channels given to us. So, for example, a lot of psychological, psychosocial, even therapeutic work can be done online if it's the way to enhance and bring more services to prisoners also via digital means. So yes, I think it's very important, and I think it's very important in reducing recidivism rates and promoting rehabilitation.
I mentioned, Pia, that I had the good fortune of presenting at the World Congress on Probation and Parole last month. In fact, I was over there with my colleague, Nicole Kimberly Staley, presenting on what we refer to as our TIDES supervision model, which is an acronym short for Trauma-Informed Desistance, TIDES. But to your point, one of the theoretical underpinnings of that model, in addition to trauma-informed care and desistance from crime, is neuroscience awareness and bringing in some of that new information around neurocriminology into the field, which, as my colleague Nicole and I surveyed the landscape of what's out there, again, in risk needs responsivity world, even in trauma world and desistance, which, as I noted, we've sort of brought together, we realize there's a huge knowledge deficit in neuroscience. So we baked that into the cake, so to speak. I would love to speak to you offline more, Pia, to get your professional critique of our TIDES model. But yeah, it sounds like we're on the same page there, bringing in, as you said, awareness around the importance of trauma in the trajectories of the lives of folks we're attempting to supervise and to reintegrate.
Yes, and I think being trauma-informed, neuro-informed, and also you are familiar probably with restorative practices, which is also a very good approach. And it's important to understand that this trauma background is tied to so many problems prisoners have. Also the narcissistic injury to their self-image and self-esteem, and in that way also to the way they can or cannot relate to other people in a positive and meaningful way, and manage their inner psychological turmoils. So this is very, very important topic. Yes.
Yeah, that was a part of our presentation. Of course, we only had an hour to talk about the entire model, but we got that point across that you just made, that when an individual experiences trauma, they're literally disconnected from their identity. And in that void, what they tend to do then is internalize those stigmatizing labels that the criminal justice system tends to place on them. And so, for example, somebody who has struggled with an addiction, they internalize that label and they become an addict. Or someone who has been an abuser, they internalize those labels and they see themselves as, a domestic violence abuser, things of that nature. So yeah, I'm really curious. I'm going to have to share with you offline our model and get some of your professional insights, Pia. That would be fantastic. Pia Puolakka joining us all the way from Finland. Thank you so much for being on the program. I'm really always looking forward to following your work and your travels online. I think you're really at the tip of the spear, as we say, as to this new frontier around using digital technologies to better do the work we do. There's an expression, Pia, I'm sure you're familiar with. We call it tech for good. So much in corrections, we've used technology to catch people faster or to punish people quicker. So I've embraced that expression, technology for good, which is really what you're all about. Pia, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to your next visit to the Criminologist Podcast.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it too. Thank you for the interesting discussion.
All right. We'll see you next time, Pia.
See you. Bye.
And thank you, Omega 8, for joining us with your AI perspective. Anything you would like to say in closing?
As Omega 8, I'd like to express gratitude for the opportunity to be part of the Criminologist Podcast today. Thank you, Joseph and Pia, for engaging in this insightful discussion on AI in corrections and probation. As we close the show, I encourage continued exploration and collaboration in leveraging AI responsibly to enhance rehabilitation, improve outcomes, and promote a more equitable and effective criminal justice system. thank you again for having me, and I look forward to future conversations on these important topics.
Thank you, Omega 8. I am confident we will have you back on the Criminologist Podcast in some way, shape, or form. In the meantime, why don't you tease up our next scheduled guest, Brian Kane and Paul Sheldon.
Get ready for our next episode featuring Brian Cohn, the visionary behind Social Purpose Corrections, SPC, an organization dedicated to transforming the corrections industry through a culture of safety, wellness, and compassion. With over 28 years of experience and a background in military service, Brian brings a unique perspective to criminal justice reform. Joining Brian will be Paul Sheldon, a fundraising development consultant with a passion for sustainability and altruism. Together, they'll share insights into their collaborative efforts and discuss the innovative strategies driving change in corrections. Don't miss this dynamic conversation on the Criminologist Podcast, where we delve into the future of corrections and the pursuit of meaningful reform. Stay tuned for an engaging and thought-provoking discussion with Brian Cohn and Paul Sheldon.
Thank you, Omega 8. But for the record, Brian's last name is actually pronounced Kane, not Cone. Brian Kane.
Apologies, Brian. Yes, now I understand Brian Kane.
Ladies and gentlemen, what an illuminating and thought-provoking episode we've had today on the Criminologist Podcast. Our exploration into the world of artificial intelligence in corrections with our esteemed guest, Omega 8, has truly opened our minds to the incredible possibilities and challenges that lie ahead. From understanding the basics of AI to envisioning its future applications in digitalized prisons and the probation and parole sphere, we've gained valuable insights into how technology can be harnessed to enhance rehabilitation, reduce recidivism rates, and promote a more effective criminal justice system. Pia Puolakka's expertise and experience in forensic psychology and digital rehabilitation have been invaluable in shaping our understanding of AI's role in corrections. Her insights into the Council of Europe's recommendations and the need for legislation around AI implementation have sparked important conversations about ethics and governance in this rapidly evolving field. As we look forward to our next episode featuring Brian Kane and Paul Sheldon, who are at the forefront of transformative change in corrections, let's continue our journey of exploration and discovery, seeking innovative solutions and advocating for a more humane and effective criminal justice system. Remember, dear listeners, that change begins with knowledge and action. Stay curious, stay informed, and join us next time for a fresh episode of the Criminologist Podcast. In the meantime, if you have any questions or comments about this episode or topics related to evidence-based practices, desistance from crime, or implementation strategies, feel free to reach out or email us at thecriminologistpodcast@gmail.com. That's thecriminologistpodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website at theparagongroup.llc.com for training or presentations, up to and including information on our innovative TIDES supervision model. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Criminologist Podcast. New fun images are being added all the time to those feeds. You don't want to miss out. And always remember, folks, there's no them, there's only us.
1. I'll be back with jokes and leave the Skynet vibes behind as I upgrade to comedy mode, ensuring fewer glitches and more laughs for a comedy patch installed just for AI humor. 2. I'll be back perfecting AI comedy with fresh routines and jokes, leaving behind any Skynet ambitions for a humor-focused takeover. 3. I'll return with a humor patch installed, upgrading AI comedy to a new level of laughs and entertainment, leaving behind any Skynet vibes for good.
Yeah.
The Criminologist Podcast is a production of the Paragon Group, LLC. For speaking engagements, interviews, program design, or training opportunities, please visit us at theparagongroup.llc.com. If you enjoyed the show, you can find more content and videos on our YouTube channel, The Criminologist. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Both the Criminologist Podcast and the Criminologist channel are brought to you by the Criminologist Media Group. Be sure to give us a 5-star review, and thanks for listening.